Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me. My name's in the description below, tmosso@thewatchbox.com, and that is my email address. Email me, tmosso@thewatchbox.com, with all your Watchbox pricing questions. So today we're discussing a watch launched in 2012, 37mm in stainless steel. This is the Audemars Piguet Royal Oak 15450ST, often known as the mid-size watch. I find it's a more natural successor to the old 15300 than the 41mm 15400, because if you could wear the 39 that came before, you can wear this 37, but if you wore the 39, you might not be able to wear the 41. So this watch is a great match for smaller wrists. The timepiece, of course, wears well on my wrist of 16 centimeters circumference. We'll throw that on my wrist and get a sense of it. You can see it's bigger than its bare measurements suggest, and that's always been the case with Royal Oaks and offshores. It wears more like a 39 or a 40, and I can say this, the watch is thin enough to fit easily underneath the cuff, and it's compact enough across the wrist that this is going to be your natural choice if your wrist is between 16 centimeters circumference like mine and 13.5 centimeters circumference. So I would say that the 16 centimeter circumference wrist size really, it's probably the dividing line between wearing a mid-size and wearing a 41 Royal Oak. I would prefer to wear this, though I could wear the 41, so let that be your sizing guide. And you can see it is a very thin watch in profile. The bracelet, the case, the bezel. A big part of what you're paying for when you buy a Royal Oak is the manual finishing of exterior components. And you can see the satination across these links, the little valleys between the links, the polished bevel that continues perfectly aligned from the lug hood down the flanks. You can see the sides are vertically satinated and the tops longitudinally satinated. The tolerances are such that when you compress the links and you run your fingers down them, you can't actually feel the step down from link to link. That's how tight the tolerances are. And of course, AP knows what it's doing with bracelets. On the underside, there are calculated gaps to avoid pinching skin, pulling hair, or trapping wrist heat. Royal Oak bracelets are still fixed in place by screws. Removable links are fixed by screws. Patek no longer does this. They use pin sleeves. This is the more expensive and upscale way to build a sizable bracelet, and I wish Patek did it. AP does. All credit to AP. The clasp has become more redoubtable with time. It's now a double fold with a combination of internal satin and media blasting. It feels as solid as a clasp on an offshore, so this is very much a sports watch clasp. You can see it's a sequential fold, a double deployment with a twin trigger release. You actually fold one side before the other because the logo comes down second. Now, taking a quick look at the case, you can see that, of course, this is an integrated bracelet design, and dating back to the first Royal Oak 5402 designed by Gerald Genta in 1972, the integration of the bracelet in the case and the lugs has always been part of the design conceit, as Gerald Genta was a jewelry designer first and foremost, and he liked to incorporate jewelry elements into watches, and integration was his plan for the Royal Oak. You can see that the fastening runs all the way from the bezel through the mid-case into the case back. It is a screw-down crown, which with its 50-meter rating means this is a surface swimmable watch. I think the bare minimum to swim a watch on the surface is a screw-down crown and a 50-meter rating, and this watch has that. The jumbo is a push-down crown. The bezel, alternately satinated and polished, is a rounded-off octagon inspired by a vintage diving helmet. In fact, I should mention the amount of time invested in finishing these components is immense, as the bracelet alone takes 9 to 11 hours, and that's before we get into the case and the bezel. Now you can see the bolts in the bezel, they're hexagonal, so is the crown, they echo each other, but the bolts are made of white gold, and you can see that the white gold is a little bit warmer in tone than the silvery steel of the case. The dial, which is the Grande Tapisserie, it is the large hobnail, not the mega that you'll see on the offshore, and not the petite, which you will see on the jumbo. This is the Grand. It is large enough to give you a burly impression of virile masculinity, but it's not so big that it's a stamped piece, which the Mega in the offshore is. The hands, the logos, and the indices here are white gold and rhodium plated, so they're silvery and bright. And then we have a gray base that's galvanized gray, and the dial is cut on a pantograph lathe, which is a 19th century mimicry engine. And since 2012, AP has done the cutting of these dials in-house. You have tens of thousands of individual dots that comprise the figures you see on this dial. And of course, new for 2012 was the date disc that matches the color of the dial across the range. Open up the bracelet, take a look at the case back, and you can see it's AP manufactured caliber 3120. Bidirectional automatic winding with ceramic rotor bearings, 40 joules, 21,600 vibrations per hour, durable with a full balance bridge and a free spring index, and includes a hacking seconds function as well as a quick set date. You can see the coats of arms of the Audemars Piguet family on the case back, on the rotors to be precise, and of course AP wants you to know that since 1875, it is the oldest continuously family-owned and run watch brand in Switzerland, and this is one of its best watches. Reach out to Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details.